I'm so happy. All right. So welcome back everybody to my 32 fan series where I'm talking to 32 different fans from all 32 teams across the NFL. And today I have two amazing guests with me and I'm super excited. So a couple of things. After this conversation or when this conversation releases, in the description, I will have all of their information so you can find them quickly, easily, and all those different things. And then anytime I talk to new people, I always tell my audience, we've never had a conversation before. So this is our first time collaborating. We are reaching out. I think it's important that people reach out to people. And so anytime it happens in real life, I always like to call it out and just say it. So here we are. We are talking about the lovely Commanders with the great logo, which I actually am kind of obsessed with, but there is that. But if you two would just like to introduce yourself, let us know how long you've been a fan, why the Commanders, anything you want to share, and then we'll just start talking about this team.
Cool.
Whoever, Z, you take it first. I will do better calling on both of you.
Nah, no problem. So, hello everyone. I'm Z, one half of Reedy and Z. I've been a fan all my life. I was born into it. As long as I can remember, being introduced to football by my uncle, who was a key pivotal person in my life, and I, kind of just all my life wanted to follow Unc. So he took me to my first football game. Took me to the first training camp. So like even as a kid back during the Dana Stubblefield days, being at training camp. So I was kind of placed into this community pretty early in this fanhood. So bleed it, burgundy and gold all day.
I love it. What about you, Reed?
I didn't start off a fan originally. I was a fan of, before I knew better, I was a fan of another team. I'm not going to mention that team, but probably like 2 years in my childhood. But then once I really started understanding the game, pretty early on, probably when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I started watching, we were watching the Redskins at the time. And, that was the team, to watch back in the 90s and stuff like that, just coming off of a Super Bowl championship in 91. So I've been kind of just rocking with the team ever since. And I just, just been locked in ever since. I don't have any of the nostalgic stories about somebody taking me to my first game. I think I took myself to my first game. Well, no, I didn't. Actually, in high school, our coaches took us to my first actual live game. So that's that. And his uncle was one of my coaches. So yeah. So I guess he took me to my first game too. That's crazy. I ain't never think about that.
Oh, that's cool. I love that. Okay. And then if you don't mind me asking, how did you all connect? Like, how did you all connect to decide, like, we're going to do this, we're starting this, let's do this?
Yeah. Well, so go ahead.
No. So the podcast was kind of Z's idea. So I have a background. I have a master's in journalism and public affairs. So that's like what I do for a living. And he was like, we literally like for years would be on the phone talking about the team every day, like by the numbers, like every single thing. And he was like, bruh, like, why don't we just start a podcast? Because we talking about it anyway. And he was like, well, with your background, like we can really get it done. And I was like, let me think about this. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And, in the beginning, it was rocky. It was rough. It was hard. It was every adjective you can use to describe starting a podcast and just doing it, getting noticed in YouTube and Instagram. Just it was everything. But it's so rewarding. It just gives a lot. I don't even know how to describe the feeling it is, like just going to training camp and people just coming up to you, y'all Reedy and Z. I watch y'all, like it's just like it's like awesome, like because we're just like we say all the time, we just two guys, lifelong fans that just love this team and we love talking about this team. So, it's that's how it really got started, the Reedy and Z podcast.
Yep. I love that. Well, that is how I found you too. I was just looking. So you're in the algorithm, so that's good. You're popping up. So if you were wondering, so I love that. So how are we feeling about the team as of today? I know last year, great year, tremendous year. I don't know if anybody was ready for what happened last year, and then this year happens. How are you feeling about the team now, Z, heading into the offseason? Obviously, the draft just happened, but how are you feeling just collectively?
After every offseason, there's an excitement, eagerness to kind of dig deep into the team and see, the ins and outs, the training camps, kind of go back through that rebuilding stage and just kind of start back over. So it's a lot of excitement around that, but just as far as like the roster, as far as what the direction the team is headed, I would say I'm optimistic. I think that the changes that we made, could potentially be great changes. Getting Young in the offensive coordinator room, also going with a whole new defensive coordinator. But they're young-minded guys that can relate. For a long time, we kind of had, coaches that are kind of like, who they are, stuck in their ways, or kind of handle things a little differently. So it's exciting to kind of get that young, fresh blood in those coordinating rooms. But outside of that, I feel like as far as the moves we've made this all season, I can honestly say that Adam Peters and the front office really put in the work from upgrading the defense. They talked about being younger, faster, and more athletic, and we've done just that all season, from the defensive side to the draft. It's just it's exciting, and I'm ready for training camp. Just to kind of get out there and kind of see the guys, because that's something that we're big on. We like to get out there. It'd be almost 100 degrees. Definitely be out there watching our guys in that heat. Staying hydrated.
I was gonna ask, does it get as hot? I'm in Texas. I'm like, does it get really hot there?
Oh, it's
okay,
hot. It's hot.
But you guys, you all don't have humidity though, do you?
Yeah, we get humidity.
A lot of humidity.
Yeah. So Reedy, okay, you tell me. I obviously, everybody usually knows this, but I'll just say this. Everybody, I've sent the questions. Everybody has the questions, so I'm not tricking or trying to catch anybody off guard. So I just want to position that so no one thinks that I'm just like throwing things at you. But what is one word you would use to describe the draft that you guys had this year?
Humbling.
If you like the content that you're getting, don't forget to hit that like button. Leave us a comment in the comment section below, and I'll let you get back to your video.
Extremely humbling.
Okay.
And I say that because the pick that I wanted, he went fairly early. And after that, I was a little depressed. I was a little down. But I had to snap back and had to realize, it's just one player, and I wish him nothing but success where he landed. But it was one of those moments for me, because I've never been so convicted about a player as I've been convicted about this player. And anybody that follows us knows I've been talking about this player the entire offseason, and that is one Jeremiah Love. I was convinced that we had a chance at 7. But all of the hype and the caliber of player that he is a team came in and they snatched him. So it is what it is. But I'm happy with the pick that we got. But it wouldn't have been my first choice because of Jeremiah Love.
Fair. What about you, Z? What is your one word?
Yeah, I would say value. I feel like in the back end of the draft, I mean, we know what Sonny did at the combine, and we know, like, at that moment on that board, I mean, you could have went many different places, a few other guys, but drafting Sonny, you can't really say anything bad about the pick, especially not on paper. Like, he checks all the boxes. So that's why I'm not necessarily speaking on him. But as far as the value, because we had like 5 or 6 picks, we didn't have a second rounder, we didn't have a fourth rounder. So to kind of get a guy like Antonio Williams in the third, a guy who they saying last year would have definitely been like a top 40 guy. He could have, he did well. The year before, he kind of was injured this past year, so it kind of pushed him back. And then like later on the draft, my favorite pick is with Matt Golban, the center. With him, he was like the second ranked center in the draft, and we snagged him in the 6th round. A guy who's only given up 2 sacks out of 700 some snaps. So that's just value for me. Even the running back that we got out of Penn State. So we went BPA, and I just loved it. But I feel like the evaluation as far as value was there. We made the best of what we had.
Yeah, Sonny Styles was my guy. Like I knew, I'm a Steelers fan. I knew we didn't have a chance, like, unless we would have moved up. So he was my like home run of the draft of whoever got him. So anyway, seeing him at least went to the Commanders. There was a couple of teams where I was like, please don't go there. Now I'll have to cheer against you. So I was happy that he went with you guys. What were you gonna say, Reedy? Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I agree. That is a good word to use for describe that. It was a good value as far as what we were able to get done with the limited amount of picks. Cause you only had 2 picks in the top 100. That's crazy. So just imagine if we would have had a second round pick. But I kind of thought when we picked Sonny Styles, I thought they would maybe try to trade down and go back and maybe trade with like a Miami, you know what I'm saying? When they made the trade with Cincinnati, when Cincinnati made the trade to get Lawrence, I kind of knew that was off the board, but I was thinking we would have that type of opportunity. But then, what they said in the pressers afterwards that nobody was calling to move when they were on the clock. So they just stuck and picked. But I think with Mansour Delane coming off the board beforehand with Kansas City coming up and taking him off the board, I think that Sonny Styles just basically fell in our lap. We had to take him. He was the best.
You had to.
Yeah.
In the draft, I feel like as soon as Love went, the whole draft kind of reset. It was like everybody thought they knew, and then they didn't know. And then, yeah. Okay.
I would say at 2, the draft reset. Because nobody had David Bailey going number 2. Like I thought Avery Reese was going to go. It was a lock. And then him going at 5 was like,
I could see that.
And then Tate going 4 as well. Like that threw a lot of people off. Nobody.
The Tate one was weird. Yeah. When the Jets didn't want to see, did they cancel Reese or Bailey? Whoever they canceled, I was like, they're going, because they canceled the guy they ended up taking, I think. So I was like, oh, this is a throw off. This is a throw off. Like I'm like, they're taking him. So in that day, I was like, guys, they're taking him at 2. So now we have 3. But you're right. Tate did surprise me with the Titans. That also surprised me. So yeah. God, what an interesting, the whole draft was weird, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
Nobody thought Mansour would go 6.
Yeah. The whole draft got weird. I thought the whole top 10 kind of was weird to me. And then I was like, all right, some normalcy. And then when Ty Simpson went, I was like, this is even getting weirder. I'm just like, what is going on?
They didn't
care. So everything's fine though. Yeah, that's what they wanted. Everything's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. It was a secret. I'm like, okay, guys. Yeah, we believe you. So okay, I know you mentioned the day. Who would you say your favorite day 2, day 3 pick is, Reedy? I know. I think you mentioned a running back before, but like, who would you say was your favorite pick from day 2 or day 3?
My favorite pick would be the wide receiver we took out of Clemson at 71, Antonio Williams. Just major upside. Like when the pick came in, there were other guys. Malachi Fields was on the board. There was a lot of guys still left on the board, like big name guys that were on the board. And when they took him, I was like, what's going on? So I was like, relax for a second, just go do your research. So immediately I went and started looking at film. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I see what they're trying to do. And knowing the scheme that David Ball is trying to implement here and knowing what they're trying to do and what they've been saying all offseason about them getting faster and younger, it made sense. And I was just like, wow, this guy is a really good slot that can get open. And if you go back and you look at our film from last year, that's where we struggled, not necessarily in the slot, but just overall at the wide receiver position, because within our fan base, everybody was saying that at that second pick, we only had 2 picks in the top 100. You have to take a wide receiver at this point. You have to give Jaden Daniels more weapons. Like I've been screaming that for the last 2 years. Weapons. Last year they gave him no weapons. We had the Terry McLaurin contract debacle, that whole thing that went through training camp, but we've seen how the beginning of the season went. So we had to hit that nail on the head with getting this receiver, and I think we did just that. A lot of people in our fan base are talking about we're going to get Brandon Ayuk, but we cannot keep waiting for Brandon Ayuk. We can't wait for the 49ers to figure out when they want to release him, or nobody is going to give them any draft capital or anything for Brandon Ayuk.
Right.
We just got to let him walk. We don't.
Yeah, that's the cat and mouse happening, right? Is that okay? Is that like they're going to release him, but they don't want to release him because they know you guys want him, but they don't. Okay.
Yeah, okay. They know we're gonna get them for the free, and they trying to act like they want, a bag of chips, and we're not even giving them that.
Okay. I wanted to make sure. Okay, I read that a couple of days ago.
Around, I'm thinking around that June 1, that June 1 release deadline designation. A lot of teams got to get rid of these guys by June 1, or it goes into the money for this year or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be around the time when he gets released or what's going to happen. But nobody around the league is going to trade for him. Reports came out this week saying that teams were trying to, reach out to him, but he's not making himself available, this, that, and the third. I think nobody's going to give up any draft capital for him or take on what's left of that contract. It doesn't make sense when you can get him for peanuts on $1 on a 1-year prove-it deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then maybe next year you re-sign him if he rehabilitates his image or whatever, then, so we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Z? Who was your day 2, day 3? I think you said the running back before, but I just wanted to make sure that was the one.
Well, no, I was saying Matt Goldman, the center.
Oh, right, you said center. Sorry.
Yeah, he was like my favorite pick, just as far as like I was saying with the value and whatnot. But just even one of the, I would say an honorable mention would be it's Joshua Joseph. So I've been saying I'm gonna mess his name up, but Joshua Joseph. He was the edge out of Tennessee. He was pretty active last year, like on the tackles, the forced fumbles. I forget his stat line, but I read it off yesterday, and it was pretty. He didn't have a lot of tackles, but he was all over the field, and he was wreaking havoc. So in reference to him, they talk about how his wingspan, he have the wingspan of like an NBA player. So he's like 7 feet, 8 feet wingspan. And that for an edge, I think is just phenomenal. You would be able to get guys' hands up off you. You'll be able to gain that separation, and people aren't going to be able to, bring their hands close and get to you because you're able to, hold them off. So I think that he will be a good, developmental piece. A lot of people look at that pick and say, oh, we didn't need an edge after we got Chason and Oway this year, as well as some of the guys that we brought back. So it's definitely a crowded room, but he will be definitely a good developmental piece that could be a practice squad stash, or even if he pans out, he can make some surprises and, cause somebody to either be traded or cut around, at the end of training camp.
That's my favorite part about the NFL. The guys that you don't think, and then they pop up and you're like, wait, who? Wait, what? Okay. Yeah. Like, that's the guy. Like, let's go. Yeah. So that's awesome. Who's the one player from your draft class that you think will make the biggest immediate impact? Z, you can answer that one.
I would say I would say Williams. I think Williams is in the slot. Jaden is going to get him open. He's quick. They're talking about he's going to be like Amon St. Brown style. I don't want to kind of put that name on him yet, but the usage, how they use him in the offense, is, kind of they're looking like it's going to be that similarity there. And if that's the case, he's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to be open quick. So in the quick game underneath, in the rounds, I think that he's going to make an impact early, and he's going to, as long as he could stay healthy, he's going to be that slot demon that a lot of people in the fan base has been calling him since we drafted him.
Yeah, good choice. What do you think, Reedy?
I'm gonna just switch it up. I would say Antonio Williams too, but I'm gonna just say Sonny Styles. Like, I feel like, if not by like week 6, I feel like by week 6 he at least has the green dot. He's calling the place, he's calling the show. But I do want them to bring him along slowly. Let him be a rookie. Like, let him literally learn the defense. Like, I don't want to put too much on him, but he's definitely being touted as a generational linebacker, being compared to some of the all-time greats, Luke Kuechly's, and some of these great linebackers, Brian Urlacher. And the similarity to Brian Urlacher being a former safety, so he has range. And for our team, we've been begging for a linebacker that can cover tight ends and that could cover backs out of the backfield, because Bobby Wagner, that is like one of my greatest players that I love the most. And Bijan Robinson mixed him last year, just filthy on a wheel route. And I just was like,
shout out to Bijan.
We cannot allow that. But why is he even on Bijan is the question. It was nasty.
Shout out to Bijan. Sorry, as a Texas fan, anytime somebody mentions Bijan, it just makes me laugh because I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I remember watching, so I love it. anyways, bringing back memories. Is there a player on your team that your team passed on multiple times that you were thinking like, come on, we got to get him, and who is like that you think that player will come back to haunt you? Reedy, I'll pass this question to you. Like, is there anybody that you're thinking about where you were like, we have to get him, but yet it just never happened?
I would say Jordan Tyson. I think, or maybe Caleb Downs. I'll stay Caleb Downs. I'll stay in the division. We passed on Caleb Downs. We went Sonny Styles over Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs is outstanding safety. I didn't have him as on my big board as everybody else had him touted. I thought maybe he would be a player that you could maybe trade back and pick up around that 12 to 13 ish. Yeah. if you went back in the draft. But I think he's going to be outstanding. And he went to the arch rival, the most hated of arch rivals. And we got to see him twice a year. It's crazy.
Yay! What do you think, Z? Who's your player?
So I was thinking earlier I was going to say Tyson, but then I retracted and I said no, I got to say Mekhi Lemon because he's in the division. We got to see him twice.
Yeah,
the Eagles, you go to a team with the Eagles who's already established. Yeah, they have their moments where Hurts is dealing with whatever he's dealing with. They always seem to be in the news for something. Yeah, but they always seem to kind of get it together. But I think instilling him in there with Devontae Smith, and they went and got Hollywood Brown, and then they just traded for was it Mechie or somebody like that? But they just traded for a receiver, so their whole wide receiver room is revamped. So placing a rookie in there where he probably ain't gonna have to do too much early, but as he come along, I think he's gonna be a real weapon for them, of course. And we know they got Saquon in the backfield, so just having that back there as a running back threat, it's going to open up their pass game. So Mekhi Lemon, is definitely probably going to be one of the ones that we kind of like, damn, I wish, maybe. Yeah. But again, I mean, we went Styles, so you're not going to go, him over Styles. So, yeah, so.
I love that. All right. Well, so let's talk about the team a little bit. What would success look like for you all this year? I feel like you all had this really huge, big swing. Jaden Daniels, like that year. I don't know if anybody predicted that for real. And then it happened. And then last year happens. So now we're in kind of like I don't know what this is. It's just kind of wait and see. But what would success look like to you this year, Z? Like, what are you thinking when it comes to this team?
As bad as I want to say what I was saying last year around this time, the success to me would be getting back to the NFC Championship and beyond. I want to scale that back, especially after with the injuries we had last year. It kind of exposed our team on the lack of depth because that run we had in 2024, we didn't deal with injuries. Everybody pretty much stayed healthy. So I think this year, just praying against that injury bug. But I think overall, we definitely added more pieces. We got younger, and it's going to be exciting. So I'm not going to just say that, getting back to NFC Championship is success. I think, after coming off of 4-12, 3 whatever we were year, that just getting back and playing consistent football, winning these games, getting into the playoffs, and then, going from there and see what we get will be a successful season for me, with all eyes definitely on the NFC Championship or Super Bowl, or if we get that shot again. But yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Reedy?
I would say we at least have to make the playoffs. But I kind of want to tailor that back to expectation. I'm expecting to make the playoffs, but I would say that I want to take it one game at a time, because last year was very humbling as a fan. And I guess it was because we haven't necessarily been here in a while. So we wanted to rush it. And I feel like you got to trust the process, and you have to take those incremental steps to getting better. And I feel like as a team overall, we kind of learned that. And I feel like we have the best coach that we can possibly have for this organization at the moment. Like, nobody wanted Dan Quinn as our head coach, but I feel like he is the best option, like as far as just his personality alone and the type of person he is, just like galvanizes the whole entire locker room. And I just feel like with that and us staying healthy this year and all of the pieces that we added, look out for the defense, because it's looking like it's going to be really good. And then just if we're able to finally get that final piece in a Brandon Ayuk, or we go get another receiver that's a pending free agent that's still on the market now after the draft, or just leading into training camp, I feel like we have all of the necessary pieces to, get back to at least the playoffs and, have a fighting chance from there. I feel like if we get in the dance, like, look out for us. We're going to be one of those teams to be reckoned with, because we definitely have, a generational talent in Jaden Daniels, and we just got to take advantage of him while he's on this rookie deal and surround him with the most weapons that we can possibly surround him with. So when we have to pay him in 2 years, possibly we might win a Super Bowl or something, or get real close. Yeah. I mean, but that, like I said, that first year kind of spoiled us, and I think it brought us back to reality as a fan base. We got to be a little bit more humbler, and just take it one game at a time.
Yeah, that's fair. I love that. I really like Jaden Daniels, so it's just nice to watch him develop. So which position group worries you the most as of today? This is April, everyone. So what position group worries you the most, Reedy, right now?
I guess I would say the wide receiver position, because it's a lot of unknowns there. I just feel like Jaden, like we cannot allow him to do it all. Like, he will try, but we cannot allow him to do it all. We have to give somebody else, do it for him. Like, just let him make the plays that he needs to make him, keep him clean, keep him healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the next $100 million contract that's about to be signed, 60, 50 million fully guaranteed per year contract guy coming up in the next year or two. So we have to find ways to advance the football. Like we seen last year, like our wide receiver room, we were abysmal. Like it was nothing after Terry McLaurin. When he got hurt, it was nothing. Noah Brown gave us nothing. Nobody gave us anything in the passing game, and we just cannot have another year of that. So we need to get that receiver room right. I think we're in the right direction with bringing back a De'Ami Brown and drafting an Antonio Williams, but I feel like we really need a number two. They didn't bring back Debo. That's still up in the air if they're going to go get him now or not, but you need to bring in a solidified number two receiver to kind of take the pressure off of Jaden and the pressure off of Terry McLaurin.
I love it. Z, what do you think?
I would say the cornerback room, outside of Trey Amos and Mikey Sanders still, we have Meek Robinson, who we just signed this offseason. And, those for Mikey and Meek, they're under 6 feet. I'm a fan of, taller corners, be more rangy. So for me, it's a little wordy, especially, if one of them go down, it's like, okay, what are we going to do? The depth that we had before, like we had, Noah Igbenogany, we had Jonathan Jones. Those guys are no longer here. So, after Meek Robinson, I think it's like more so kind of like camp bodies, if I'm not forgetting anyone. So I look at that room like we still, as of today, I am worried. And we still have work to do there, whether that's, hitting free agency and signing like a guy like Jeff Okudah, or, if that's waiting till these, post-June 1 cuts to see if somebody else falls, right before training camp, something like that. But I still think today I look at that room and think it needs improvement, especially with the safety room that we had. Now, I mean, we did get, Nick Cross, and there's expectations that he's going to, make that room better. Pairing him with Will Harris, but outside of that, it's like we got burnt a lot last year, and I feel like we need another body, somebody that's gonna hold something down on that side. So that's where I want to see improvement,
especially in that division. The Cowboys twice, the Eagles twice, the Giants potentially.
You got Neighbors
this year twice.
McCollum, now you got Devontae Smith. Yeah. We had Brown. You got CeeDee Lamb. You got Pickens.
That's disgusting. What even is that?
That's just the division. So
it doesn't get any easier. And the thing that Commanders fans hang their hat on is us beating the Giants, but the Giants are going to be much improved under a Harbaugh scheme. They're going to be much improved. Like, they were knocking at the door last year. Like they should have won a lot more games than they won. So it's like,
yeah,
arguably the best division again in football. Like this traditionally used to be the best division, and then it dropped.
it was like the
It's
NFC
arguably
least, right, for a little bit.
arguably is like if you look at the talent across the board and like the potential from these teams, like it's going to be crazy. Like it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, that is true, and that's a yeah. There's a lot of these divisions where once you start to talk about them, you're kind of like, yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. So I would love to ask you, Z, where has this team improved the most from last season? Do you think, just based on what you know now, where do you think that they've improved the most?
Defensively, we had last year. We had I don't want to say elders, but we had a pretty old team. They talked about how we were the oldest team in the league. You know what I mean? So, you know, of course, with age, it comes, you know, you get slowed down. So we lacked speed, we lacked athleticism, we lacked, you know, just size in certain rooms. So it's just like I look at that and then what we did, like you said, Owe, Minanu, you got Chason, then that's just the D line. Then you still, you know, with the linebacker, you go get Leo Chenal, you know, a guy that's ascending there. Amik Robinson, they say he has that dog factor. Nick Cross, you know, another dog. So, you know, we really, really upgraded this defense, you know, to be a lot better than what it was. So that's why I see the most improvement, and I expect the most improvement.
I know that's right. What do you think, Reedy?
I would say the defense as well. I feel like the linebacker position was the most improved position. You go sign a Leo Chenal, you bring in a Sonny Styles, you know, you have a Jordan McGee that's a kind of ascending player that we've been kind of waiting to kind of click into that next echelon of player, like not necessarily given the opportunity that, you know, a lot of people would say his potential has shown. You know, his rookie year, he came in and he was like, everybody was like, wow, like who is this kid? And then he's like he gets injured and it's a drop off, and it's just like he never could, you know, turn into what we thought he was, but that potential is there. Like you see the flashes, you know, in the opportunities that he is given. You know, and then you got a Frankie Louisville who had a down year last year, and you bring in a Devontae Jones as a defensive coordinator, and it's just like I'm expecting great things. I'm expecting he was under a lot of the great defensive minds, so I'm expecting a lot of different things. One of the key quotes that he said that I enjoy: "He's not where we start, but it's how we end up." So that tells me it doesn't matter if we're in a 4-3, 3-4, 5-2, whatever type of defense we want to be in, we'll be in. We may disguise and look like this, but hey, we're in this. You know what I mean? So like that's big, like for a team that constantly got beat with speed and just seems to never can contain a tight end or check a back out of the backfield. It's just like, 3rd and 19 and the back goes for 20. Like, so
I can hear the pain in your voice.
Yeah, like,
who can't you guard? Like, you can't guard a tight end. You can't guard a running back. Like, what are you doing?
Never had speed at the linebacker position, and just the additions that they made is just amazing. But I'm optimistic about the offense. You know, you bring in a Chiga Conquo, you bring in a Rasheed White, you bring in some guys that, you know, make that upgrade, kind of, you know, give Jaden those weapons. You bring back a De'Ami Brown. I'm not a big De'Ami Brown guy, but I think that if he stays on the track that he was on the playoffs 2024, if he goes back to that De'Ami, then we cook it with fish grease. I think we good. I like I said, we just lack that true number 2 receiver, a healthy Terry McLaurin, and then a Bill. You know, I don't know if the people that, you know, follow your channel are familiar with Bill, a 7th round pick that came in and ascending and is fighting for the starting position now. With him in the backfield, you know, leading the way, and then you bring in the kid from Penn State, which, you know, he's the all-time leading rusher in Penn State history. And now there's been some Evan Royston went to Penn State, Saquon Barkley went to Penn State, and you're the
loved that pickup.
Rusher. So I think if we get that number 2 receiver, and they was trying to get him because they tried to sign Adam Pierce. They tried to go out and get what's the other receiver, Z?
Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs. We tried to sign Romeo Dobbs. It just didn't work out. So they're trying to bring in that number 2 receiver. So if they get this right and we are able to go and get someone, or in Z's words, the lock of of Ayuk, because he says it's a lock. I told him it's not a lock, but he says it's a lock because that's Jaden's boy.
Yeah, boy.
If we make that happen, I think we're on our way. We're on our way to some good things. That's what I'm saying.
I love that. I love it's always, as a fan, I love when I know my team is trying to get the guy that everybody, like, we all know we needed 2. So somebody try to go get a 2. Like, and I want to hear the reports that you tried and you failed, because that at least makes me feel good. Like, even if it doesn't work, I'm like, all right, we're trying. Keep trying, guys. Like, as a Steelers fan, listen, we've been trying what it seems like for decades, but that's a different conversation for a different episode. So we won't even go there. So what will your team do better than most teams in the NFL this year, Z? What do you think you will say, if we can't do anything, we are going to be able to do this better than anybody?
That's a good one. I would say we will be able to run the ball better. And I say that because we have the new offensive coordinator in Blau, and I believe everybody is going to expect him to be pass heavy. But if you think about it, in Detroit, he comes from that Detroit background. He was the quarterback there. Detroit actually tried to snag him and bring him in to coach with them, and then we offered him the offensive coordinator job here, and he elected to stay. So, and Dan Campbell talks all the time about him. He loves Blau. They think he's a genius and things like that. So I look at that situation and think that as much as they think we're going to pass the ball, I think we're going to be running the ball. And remember, with Detroit, they have the 2-back system. So, for
that is
all season, we thought it was going to be Love and Bill, but now it's going to be Bill and Kaytron, or Bill and Rashad. We got options. We still got options. So I think we're going to be able to run the ball effectively and make some noise.
I like it. I didn't think you were going to say that, but I like that you said it. I like it. Reedy, what do you think?
That was the safe choice.
I like it. I like that you brought up the 2 running backs, because you're right. I didn't think about that angle.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is a speed round. So it's a fun questions. So I'll just ask them, and then I'm assuming some of these you guys will agree with, but I think some of you might not. So we'll see. So the first one is quarterback confidence from 1 to 5. Reedy, you go first.
Jaden Daniels,
5 being the highest.
It's a 5.
5.
What'd you say? 5? Yeah, I figured. Coaching staff trust level. Z, you take this one first.
4.
Okay.
In our coaching, we trust the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say 4.
4. Okay, cool. Who do you think will carry the team this year, Reedy? Offense or defense?
Offense.
I'm gonna say defense.
Okay. Z.
Defense.
Okay. Love it. If you could trade drafts with any team that drafted, they get all of your draft picks, then you get all of their draft picks. What team would you pick, Z?
I would say I would say the Giants.
Good pick. What do you think, Reedy?
I don't know. I have to look at the names again, but I would say any of those teams that had those multiple first round picks. They got value there.
Jets, Browns,
the
Cowboys. Yeah, Jets, Browns, Cowboys. There's 2 other ones I think that had.
Giants, and it was somebody else.
Yeah. The Giants had a really good draft.
They did. I think both New York teams did. I think the Jets did too.
Yeah, the Jets really cooked.
The Jets made me go, oh, okay, y'all know what y'all are doing. Y'all might
I feel like the Jets always have good drafts, and they just don't.
They just doesn't quite.
It just doesn't show itself with the players that they get. They always like some of these teams like are always perennial picking in the top 5,
10.
top 10.
Yeah.
They always get good players, and you look around.
They can't get the quarterback right, though. If they get the quarterback right, they can change some things.
And I think they mess up in their coaching hires too sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I think they hire a guy, and I'm like, this guy doesn't fit anything y'all say y'all want to do. And then
nobody wants
the draft
to go there
doesn't.
either, so we got to remember that. Nobody wants to go to the New York Jets.
Yeah. Okay. So what would be if this team had a this always happens moment, like, of course this happened, or of course this is just who we are, what would that be for you, Reedy? Like, what is something you all say in the fan base that you're like, of course, like after everything that happens, of course it's X. What is that thing usually for you all?
We didn't have a 5th round pick to get him. And it'd be a top tier player. And they'd be like, yeah, 6th round pick and a 2029 second. We didn't have I call Z first. So we didn't have a 5th round pick.
Okay.
It's every year, like when a top player goes somewhere, we ain't have a 6th round pick.
So like, okay, so you're like, y'all don't give to get.
Yeah,
you're like
it's like it feels like we're not, like you said before, like you just want to hear that we're trying, we're knocking on the door, trying to acquire those top tier players. Sometimes I feel like we don't. Like even like last year, like when they knew they needed a cornerback, like they didn't. When they knew they needed another receiver, it's like, why are you bringing these journeyman guys in here? Like you have to be aggressive, go after somebody. Like one thing that Adam Peters has done since he's been here, and I love this about this regime, the cap space situation has been in pristine. Like every year we're in the top 5 of the league since they've been here in cap space. Spend some of that money. Like I get it that we're going to have to hold on to it, but a lot of these contracts that we had the previous years were 1-year deals. They're going to fall off anyway. So it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Like go get somebody, make a move. Like I thought when we went and got Marshawn Lattimore that was a good move, but in hindsight it didn't work out. So I just feel like we're just not as aggressive as we should be, because I feel like we're like 1 or 2 sometimes players away from being in the conversation with the top teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's just
pull the trigger. Yeah. What do you think, Z?
I was gonna say playing down the competition. You know, when we play the teams that we should be, it's always, we got to try to kick a game winner to win the game, and coming down to game winning touchdowns and all that. So it's always playing down the competition.
Yeah, and the teams that we're not supposed to beat, we beat.
Mm-hmm.
We beat. Yeah, y'all kind of sound like Steelers fans. Like everything y'all are saying, I'm like, well, yeah, I've been there. So, I've been not being aggressive. I'm living there too. So, I love that. And yeah, we kick field goals to win games too, or hope the other team misses it so that we can win. I love it. So my final question, Z, I'll start with you, is what message would you send if you could talk to the owner or talk to the GM? You can pick or choose whichever one. What message would you want to deliver to them? What would you say? What would you want them to know?
Well, I would talk to Josh Hurst, the owner, and I would tell him that, us as a fan base, we are definitely grateful for all the investments that he's and all the changes that he's making with the team, from the upgrades to the current stadium we in to the beautiful new stadium we have coming. The uniforms, it just seems like they have an ear to the fans. What we complain about, it seems they make the changes and the necessary steps to do that. Even, dating back to when they took Ashburn, where our training camp is, and they took that facility and revamped it. And the players just talk about how it was like one of the worst facilities. And now it's, they upgraded the locker room. It just upgrades everywhere, and it shows I feel like when you invest in your own first, and you show your appreciation, that's how you can really build culture and really make people happy to come work for you. So I would simply just thank him for changing that and creating this new environment, because we were in the slums.
I love that. That's my first positive one. I think I've recorded 6 episodes. And that's my first positive one. So I love that. Shout out to you for that.
Thank you.
Reedy, what do you got for me? You want to talk to the GM or you want to talk to the owner?
I'll talk to the GM. Mr. Peters, thank you for all you have done thus far in the last 3 seasons that you have been here. But please be aggressive. Please go out there and surround Jaden Daniels with weapons. I repeat, weapons. We need weapons.
Mm-hmm.
This is a how many points can you put up on the scoreboard league now? The days of playing these low-scoring games are over. You need multiple dogs on every level of the offense, every level of the defense. So the more dogs, the more weapons you could put around this team, the better. Do not give up on Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn has come in here and changed this culture, changed this locker room. Like, just hearing the players talk about just wanting to come to work. Like, do you guys really know where we came from? We came from the abyss of hell under Daniel Snyder. Please do not get rid of Dan Quinn. He definitely deserves another season. NFC Championship game in year 1. You know, we had the injury bug. I mean, he tried to coach through it. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see what happens this year. But I think he's done enough and tried to bring in coaches and other guys to, you know, make this thing work. So I think he deserves another year. Outstanding job from you two. Thank you.
I love that. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you all want to say, comment on? I will stop talking first, and I'll just say thank you to both of you for A, taking the time to talk to me. B, I'm a stranger, like you didn't know me from anybody. So I just appreciate you all being willing to talk to me, with me about this. It's super. I just love that I do this because I get to learn about teams and just get to hear from different fans. And Reedy, I believe I got your name wrong at the beginning of this. If I remember correctly, I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names. So I'm actually proud of myself that I haven't gotten them wrong. Like, sometimes it gets a little weird for me. I teach college. So sometimes like I'm like, wait, sorry, that's not you. I'm not in school right now. So I just appreciate both of you for like just connecting with me and being willing to talk to me. And then before I shut up, all of their information, anything they share with me, I will put it in the description. So you can find both of them independently. You can find both of them together. Before I record these episodes, I sneak and watch people's content. It's really good content also. So if you want to be informed with people that are passionate and with people that care, and if you're just like me, you just like to hear people talk about their teams and talk about football, I definitely want to encourage you to subscribe, follow, listen, watch the videos to the very end, like it, all of those things. So I will stop talking. So Z, if you want to say your final words, and then we can go after, and I'll just hit end whenever both of you are done.
First, thank you for having us. Thank you for the invite. We greatly appreciate the opportunity. We're all about collaboration. No matter who you are, we're big on that. And shout out to you for stepping into, this lane and doing your thing and adding your twist and everything like that. So salute to you. But also, if you are a Commanders fan or just a fan of football and you want to, check out, a channel. We are, like we always say, we're just two guys who love this team, love football, and we keep it real. We're not the kind that try to act and put on just for a camera. Like, we are our authentic selves through and through. We joan on each other. We laugh. That's just what we do. You're going to get the raw, uncut authenticity with Reedy and Z. So, come check us out. And like I said, thanks for having us.
Of course.
Yeah, I want to second that. Thanks for having us. It was really dope. I love, everything that's going on with your platform, and I will be on the lookout for, your up and coming videos as you move forward with this series. And I will definitely go back and look at the other 6 that you had on before us to make sure that we can support you. Because like Z said, we are big on, that, want to see other people win. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, other people do well in this landscape, because it takes a lot of confidence, and it takes a lot of, I don't necessarily want to say skill, but it takes just a lot just to get in front of the camera, just to record. Some people just don't even like to hear their own voice. So that is just big in itself. So just salute to you for that. And then like Z said, if our Instagram is like goes crazy, like, we try to get in there and respond to every person.
Very responsive. Let me just yes, 100%. I want to co-sign that.
Yeah, so we but it's like not like I'm not a homer. Like you don't have to agree with Reedy and Z. I tell people that all the time. I would rather you not agree so we can get debate it. It's a friendly debate. At the end of the day, we're going to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? It don't have to go left or right or however people be trying to take it in these comments, hiding behind these channels and all of this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it cordial and we're gonna move on. I'm gonna say my piece, you say your piece, and then our loyal fans, they're gonna come, they're gonna pop their piece too. And it's just a friendly debate. Like this is what sports is all about. Like football is all about. This is what makes it fun. That banter back and forth, and then we could just all come to say, okay, all right, well, we agree to disagree and move on. You know what I'm saying? So like, even if you ain't a Commanders fan, just come and just pop. When we play your team or whatever, just come in and just say hello. Like, and we'll respond and we'll if you're you see us on the live, come on the live, say hello.
I love it. Well, I appreciate both of you again, and just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course.